So this morning, we delve into the pages of history and political insight with Dr. Mathews Phosa, the former Treasurer General of the ANC and one of South Africa's political figures. His latest memoir, Witness to Power, offers a compelling look into the inner workings of the ANC, its leadership, and his own journey from Premier of Mpumalanga to one of the party's top positions. This morning, we sit down with Dr. Phosa for an in-depth conversation reflecting on his pivotal role in the shaping of the country's political landscape and the lessons drawn from his years in power. A very good morning to you. Thank you so much for making time for us.
Good morning, sir, for inviting me. I really appreciate it. Good morning to your listeners.
I think that the book is titled quite aptly, Witness to Power. And a thought that came to my mind is considering the role that you had played before the liberation, the role that was played within the diaspora, the role that was played then in South Africa, and then how some of your quote-unquote perhaps maybe ordinary comrades who maybe have been leaders in the MK and so forth would later on become a president, as an example, and later on lose that power. What would you say you have witnessed throughout that particular period? And does that change of power, whether you gain the power or you lose the power, change an individual?
I would like to comment on that, but starting from your premises of your question. I mean, I had a very interesting life in underground struggles in the country. In ZAPO, UDF, the ANC, being a political activist, got banned, thrown into exile, at the site of death, where the Flag Plus guys were about to kill me. I escaped by about 3 hours and ran away. But I went to East Germany to train as a soldier and intelligence officer. Came back to the front of our borders and became commander at the borders in Mozambique and prosecuted war the way I needed to do to confront apartheid. But while in the middle of that, I was really surprised that Oliver Tambo and the NEC called me back to Lusaka and said, "You shall go home to start a process of peace with Jacob Zuma and Pendleton Madonna and Gibson and Njenje." And we returned home. It was a very dangerous thing. I felt like we were like guinea pigs because we could have been killed. But we said, for the sake of our people, we will return home to start a peaceful chapter. And we did that. It was not easy. And of course, you're talking about people who go into power and get out of power. Some people go into power and become very magnanimous and be honorable to the people. Others go into power, but it goes to their heads and get corrupt. So it affects us differently. I choose the former, that when you go into power, you must be a servant leader. Yes.
Yeah. What do you think happens then with that individual? Like an individual that you would have trusted, that you would have, because you also look at, for instance, when you speak about when you set up your first cabinet, this is now speaking about the premier's executive in Mpumalanga, the people that you had brought in, and later on you come and there are all of these allegations of corruptions in the parks.
Well, it's very embarrassing, you know. Well, in '94, it was very consultative because there was another government of national unity at that time, you know, with the national,
very different to this one.
Yeah, we'll come to that later, but this one was with the National Party only. And it was deliberate. It was to forge white and black into a center, which, and it didn't last long, but Hitler pulled out, well, for his own reasons. But that time, we had to include some of the National Party members in our cabinets. And of course, have our own comrades in. In Mpumalanga in particular, I consulted the structures of the movement, COSATU, SSCP, teachers' organization, to say, what is the team we put together? But you thought you had people of equal moral fiber, but it was not like to be like that. Why did I have to fire more than 2 MECs? Because they were involved in corruption, and I felt betrayed. But I didn't have to have second thoughts about it. I fired them, because I think that's how we should act against corruption. Yes.
You fired them, and then later on what would happen is there's the so-called Mapisa Commission.
Yeah, the kangaroo court of Mapisa.
Yeah, Vali Musa describes it as a kangaroo court as well.
It's a kangaroo court, put together by Mbeki.
But take us back to what happens. So you are the premier of Mpumalanga.
Yes.
There is this tension within the party that is playing out. There's these investigations that you've initiated as well. But then the party itself, from a national level, starts its own investigation against you through the Mapisa Commission. being led by Nosiviwe Mapisa Nqakula at the time.
It's an aberration. A man who fights corruption is then victimized by those who he had fired. If you look at the people in the center in that Mapisa Commission who were testifying, some of the MECs are fired. So you use criminals against a man who's serving his people well. But you know what happened? It came to naught. It came to naught. But the pain it caused to people was bad, and the wounds are still bleeding even today in Mpumalanga.
Would you say that Thabo Mbeki, the former president, was key to that?
He formed it.
Yeah.
He formed it. It was not an NEC structure. When it reported to the NEC, and I think I must talk about this for the first time, Kada Asmal was chairing the appeal. He called me one afternoon, I can never forget. You know, Kada had this big laughter. He said, Comrade Matthew, and even said, President Phosa, this kangaroo court, that's where I got that word from. It's a real kangaroo court. He laughed and said, don't worry about the nonsense.
Yeah.
Why would you dismiss it like that? Because it was nonsense.
What was the intention?
The intention was to neutralize political, or perceived political opponents.
And then this would be former President Thabo Mbeki.
Yes, then it was followed by allegations of plot. Plot by Cyril Ramaphosa, Mathews Phosa, and Tokyo Sexwale from Norway. How could you plot when you have never met for 2 years?
Yeah.
When do you plot? Plot means serious business. We're plotting to kill him and overthrow him. Joe, that's serious business.
Yeah, and we'll come back to that point around the plot. So in the book, page 116, you write that I lost my job as premier for resisting those implicated in corruption and criminality. And I looked at this and I asked myself, so if former President Thabo Mbeki was key in the establishment of the Mapisa Commission, would it mean that he would have been party to making sure that you lose your job as premier because of the corruption that you were investigating? Was it an attempt to protect the people?
Let me say it bluntly, yes. But what would have been the intention? These witnesses were fired for corruption. Now the witnesses against me, for what? There's not one iota of any wrongdoing I've done as a premier at the moment. There isn't. It's clean record. You can check it. Not 1 cent was stolen by myself. And I would challenge any politician to say that.
Yeah.
I challenge them.
Well, we're going to come back now to the issue around the plot that you speak about and how that plays out and how, ironically, as you point out in the book, that later on in 2012, these 3 people who are accused of plotting against the former President Thabo Mbeki would then stand at the ANC's Mangaung Conference contesting the position of a deputy president. Continue our conversation with the former ANC Treasury General Mathews Phosa and former ANC Treasury General, of course, Mathews Phosa, as we reflect on his book, Mathews Phosa, Witness to Power, a Political Memoir. So the point that we were raising just before we went to the ad break was the allegation that there was a plot against former President Thabo Mbeki. Tokyo Sexwale, yourself, as well as Cyril Ramaphosa, were quote-unquote implicated.
Yeah.
What happened?
Well, I'm sitting at home in White River and I see Comrade Steve Tshwete. May his soul rest in peace and happy belated birthday. Yesterday was his birthday, and I would like to respect him. He was one of my leaders. He announces from the blue that there's a plot to kill and overthrow President Mbeki, and the plotters who are mentioned is myself, Comrade Tokyo, and Comrade Cyril Ramaphosa. I said to myself, what the hell is this? And Matata said he was the first journalist to call me. I said, Matata, I don't want to insult the intelligence of South African people. It's nonsense. That was my reaction. President Mandela came out and said, this is rubbish. He dismissed it. Kosato, thanks to Kosato, dismissed it. And then but the proceeded. Jigis Labour investigated us for 12 months and found nothing. And Comrade Steve called me and said, Comrade Matthew, we found nothing. I'm so embarrassed. Can we go and have a press conference and talk about it? I said, when you announced it, you were alone at the press conference. Go back and have another press conference and announce that you are apologizing, which he did, and I respect him for that.
Yeah, and to date you say that from former President Thabo Mbeki's side, there's been no apology or an acknowledgement of what had taken place?
Not directly. I assume Steve Tshwete, when he spoke, he didn't speak on his own personal capacity. And I've reconciled myself with both of them. I will hold no grudges, nothing. What's past is past. We move on. We're revolutionaries. We can't stay when someone has made a blunder and hang him on that.
Yeah, because here's the point that I want to raise is, in the book, of course, you write about the plot. Steve Strater makes this announcement during during a press briefing, I think was on the SABC. But many years later, in 2016, former President Thabo Mbeki, in the numerous letters that he penned during that particular time, one of the aspects that he raises is this particular one, the allegation of the plot. He says that the minister made a serious mistake of confirming these names live on air during an evening broadcast. As soon as the interview was over, the minister telephoned me to inform me of what had happened and to apologize most profusely for his mistake. Is that your understanding as well of how Thabo Mbeki understood what was playing out at the time?
I don't accept that. Jegi Selewa was a commissioner of police in the country, where Mbeki was president. Why would he allow the investigation to go on if he thought Steve Strater made a mistake? Steve Strater is not alive to defend himself, in fairness to him. But I don't want to go back because I don't want to talk about him when he cannot respond. It's very un-African as far as I'm concerned. But why would the investigation continue under a president with the commissioner of police if he did not know about it? It's disingenuous.
So you don't accept this?
No, I don't.
He says, naturally, I reprimanded him for what he had done and asked that he should see me. And Kambule was then brought to me by people who believed the story had told SAPS, people who remain members of the current National Executive Committee of the ANC. So no conversation around this would have happened with you?
No, this is a joke. I'm hearing it for the first time.
Really?
Yeah, how could you allow your commissioner of police to investigate a matter for 1 year and then come later and say, oh, it was a mistake? You should have known it was a mistake from the beginning and stopped the investigation.
Yeah.
We're not being told the truth yet.
We're not being told the truth.
No, sorry.
Okay.
Sorry.
Then let's fast forward to, we are now heading into, I think it's the ANC's Pukani Conference. Heading into the ANC's Pukani Conference. You get a call from Zweli Mkhize. He says what to you?
Zweli Mkhize first said to me, the lobbyists in the branch, I said, you must stand for SG. I said, listen, I'm enjoying my business. I don't want to be in SG. SG is so full-time. Well, he leaves me alone. Later he says, no, but okay, Gwede has agreed to stand for SG. Will you stand for treasurer? I will allow you to still continue to do my business. I said, yeah, I'll consider it. Then I agreed. Then, of course, I was a candidate for treasurer. We went to Polokwane, and I was elected. I won. But Polokwane as a conference was a terrible conference for the ANC. And I'm saying in my book, it is where we killed and buried the ANC. Ironically, you know what Polokwane means? Poloko. It's a funeral. That was the funeral of the ANC, incidentally. We killed it there. The fissures towards the build-up and after were horrible. And today, if you trace it strategically, we have MK. You can originate it even from there.
You can originate it all the way from 2007.
Yeah, yes, if you think analytically, the fight and the boxing would happen from there.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter what you did after that. The wounds were too deep. Some guys were so angry they formed COPE, like Soem Sholowa, who was later vomited by COPE. You don't know what happened in those parties.
Yeah. Do you think in hindsight, upon your reflection, because you do say that the belief was that you are one of the only individuals who would speak out and up against former President Thabo Mbeki, because there was this thing about the whole aloofness of the former president, and that he was not taking the line from the ANC as well. Do you think because of that, you may have been co-opted into the Jacob Zuma slate because of that particular element? They knew that this person would be the perfect individual to have on our slate because this is somebody who can stand up to former President Thabo Mbeki.
But why make him treasurer? Treasurer doesn't make you very political. You focus on money. I don't think that holds water at all. They were looking for candidates, and I give them Zweli credit for that. He was lobbying, and of course we lobbied beyond that. Even the NWC, we had to lobby who goes in NWC and work together. And I still respect him even today, and he respects me too. Yeah. So I don't believe little children's stories around what happened in Polokwane. Polokwane was brutal to the ANC and regrettable in my view.
Regrettably so in your view. One of the other things is looking at the former President Thabo Mbeki's recall, the motion in the ANC NEC. I want to go back to that because you speak about it is ANC NEC meeting. There's this 18-hour-long debate that is going on, and later on you pen down something, and you
pen down a motion.
You pen down the motion.
Him.
Yeah. And then you are kneeling next to former President Jacob Zuma.
Yes.
He was president at the time.
Yes.
Tell us about that conversation.
What happened? The NEC was going like an aeroplane through a turbulence. They were arguing that after Polokwane, that is after Comrade Thabo Mbeki lost, he became bitter. He's supposed to attend officials' meetings. He boycotted all of them. He boycotted all NWC meetings. He boycotted all NEC meetings. You understand? He was like a lone ranger of a president, ruling the country on his own mandate. People said, but you can't do that. The party in whose name you're being a president. So they were angry. So it's not me. Then I was assessing the mood. So I thought, let me write a resolution which deals with the ANC, asking him to step down. And he was about to go to New York. He said to Zuma, please decide on me before I leave. I don't want you to dismiss me while I'm overseas. That's what Zuma told us. And then I was sitting there, I said to myself, no, it's not fair on Mbeki. We need to take a decision. We can't be waffling like we were brainless. You know, I said, no, let me write. I write it. I said, but when you do that, this man is a head of state. You must look at the implications. I dealt with that. I said, 2, he's got a cabinet, deal with that. 3, he's got an NEC, inform them. And there's a population. He's a president of the nation. Yeah. So my motion was very comprehensive. So I didn't tell him I was doing that. I kneeled there and said, do you still want him? He said, why? I said, I've got a motion to dismiss him. He said, well, go ahead and read it. He didn't know what he was asking for. Then I read it.
Okay, I'm going to read a passage out of the book, and then I'm going to play this clip. And I need your response to it. So this is what you write. He says, this is now former President Jacob Zuma answered. No, the question was, here it is. Mr. President, do you still need a Thabo? And the response from the president at the time, no. He asked me why I was asking the question. I talked to him through my proposal for Mbeki's removal as president. I then asked him whether I should move the motion and to formulate as formulated, and Zuma told me to go ahead. Now, in an interview with Ziyanda Ngobo here on Newzroom Afrika, I want you to listen to what former President Jacob Zuma says about this particular moment.
I know what he said.
And how he reads this moment.
I know what he said.
Let's play the clip, and I want you to respond to that.
I know what he said.
Here is that interview with Ziyanda Ngobo, and listen to what former President Jacob Zuma had to say about this particular moment.
I actually wanted Mbeki to stay more. It were other comrades in the National Executive Committee who said he must go at a particular time because they were accusing him of the manner in which he was handling the organization. The leadership of the ANC, I was in the minority. I said, let us not do it. Let us find a way to talk to Mbeki, how to handle himself until the final stage. They said, no, no, no. I've never done so. Whoever has that impression, it is wrong. I actually defended him.
Is that a true reflection?
I want to be very polite to Comrade Zuma. He may have said those things to members of ANC outside the NEC. But in the NEC on stage, when I asked him whether or not he still needs President Zuma and President Mbeki, he said, why? I said, I got a motion to remove him. He said, go ahead. And I went ahead. I wouldn't have dared in that NEC to read that motion in his presence. And he will have opposed me if he maintained that position. Let's look for consistency. He didn't oppose me. He kept quiet.
So according to you, your version is the truth?
Because he did not oppose me as well. He didn't oppose me when I moved the motion. The only people who opposed me came from the floor, not from the table. And I don't want to mention their names. But their opposition was mainly that, listen, he's left for 6 months. Why remove him? Comrades were, as they say in African, so heartful and said, he must go. And then we then said, Zuma cannot follow him because it will look like Zuma was making his own nest. We prefer that Kgalema be the interim president. Yeah. Yes.
It was, I think, one of the quotes in Reverend Frank Chikani's book is Baleka Mbete said Ngoku. I don't know if that is the truth. that it must happen now. It must happen. Maybe I'm misquoting him.
No, you're not misquoting him. But it shows you the mood of the NEC.
Yeah.
They were tired. They just felt, they're being undermined.
Okay.
It's an organization. And like Zuma is putting it, actually he's putting it very correctly to say they were angry. I was not even angry. I was trying to mediate a situation which was boiling.
And then later on, though, then you also then get a call from former President Jacob Zuma. Now it is him who is on the firing line. He's about to be recalled by the ANC NEC. And there is a document that he shows you, legal papers, where his lawyers have instructed, well, he's instructed perhaps his lawyers, I don't know how this unfolded, but there's a document that where he's going to be challenging, was it the motion of no confidence in him in Parliament, or was it the motion that has been brought by the NEC?
The NEC took a decision during the day that he must go. And then, of course, they didn't get a nod from him. So obviously the following day they were going to move a motion to remove him. But he went to see these lawyers, and I won't mention their names, I don't want to honor them because they wrote bad court papers. They bring an application under Section 98 of the Constitution. That section is impeachment. You have to say, Aldrin did A, B, C wrong. But the following day, the motion was going to be under Section 200, which is 50+1, which the ANC on its own could have brought and removed Zuma. He didn't need other political parties. So I told him, these lawyers don't know what they're doing. And I even said, could you call them, let's debate the legal issues. He said, no, Baba, let's leave it. So we left it that maybe the following day at 10, he will postpone the press conference, we have time to talk. You remember that it didn't take place at the press conference. And one journalist was blaming me for making her wait for too long. I said, no, because you waited at the wrong place. But then I said to him, but the matter we're discussing is not legal, it's political.
Yeah.
Your NEC members have given a ruling on you. And it's got serious implications on you as a former president. You lose your salary, your pension, and all those things. We went through them, and it don't be good to your children as well. You need to find a way of saying, listen, I've served, I will go. He had many issues against the current president, which he says he betrayed him. I said, but what you should do in your press conference, ventilate those issues so the nation understands that you're also being wrong or you feel wronged, whether right or wrong, but you feel wronged. It's fair that he must be heard. He was given. He must be heard as well on his crimes. I said so, and when we were talking and talking, we're going into the following day, and it's Valentine's Day, my brother. And I said, but Mr. President, it's 2 o'clock. It's Valentine's Day. We're busy talking politics. People are busy having their lovers. We should stop this discussion. I think the best thing for you is to take leave of yourself and go with honor. The following day, at 10 o'clock, the press conference did not take place. I said, halala, this is very good. Then those lawyers did not call me. I said, this is good. Yep. 2 o'clock, he had a press conference. Then he ventilated the issues which made him unhappy. And I was very happy that he was able to say them. But I thought at the end he would resign. He didn't. But I was tired, so I slept. So 11 at night, one of my friends sent a message, he listens to you. I said, what is it? So I saw on TV he resigned. I said, hallelujah, I'm happy.
We continue the conversation with Dr. Mathews Phosa, the former Treasurer General of the ANC. So welcome back. You're still watching the AM Report in conversation with ANC Treasurer General Dr. Mathews Phosa. We're focusing on his memoir, political memoir, Mathews Phosa, Witness to Power. I want to quickly now go to page 199. And this again perhaps maybe speaks to some of the inconsistencies. You are called on, it's Para, the independent panel has made its finding. The report is given to Parliament. Parliament is now going to have a debate around this. But in the book at page 200, actually, page 200, right at the top, you write that Ramaphosa was seriously considering stepping down. What do you mean? What happened?
No, what I mean there, because you want to know what I mean.
Yeah.
But Ramaphosa was put in a quandary, and everybody admitted. It looked like, there were these dollars from the Met and this commission. But no one became legalistic about the report. And I phoned him that afternoon. And I said to him, Mr. President, what's going on? Who's advising you? He said, no, there was Judge Maybach. I said, I'd like to see his opinion. He sent it to me, right? I looked at it, I thought, this is water without sugar. But during the week, my law firm, Phosa Lawyers, had worked out a position in response to the report of Justice Noble, which was very legalistic and very much to the point. There are 8 organizations which were investigating the case of Phala. Then Judge Ngobo never spoke to any one of them. He never asked them a single question about what were their findings. Yet he comes to a finding without a big mountain of evidence. That's why the president, the NPA, doesn't want to prosecute him now. So we were right. I was right to say to the president, I sent him my written opinion. He said, how are you going to handle this? I said, I'm going to Newzroom. Yeah, I'm going to talk. I didn't come here. It was virtual.
Oh, yes.
I said,
the interview room.
I said, I am going to give my view, step by step, my legal view to the nation, which I did without fear. And then that became a view which really swayed a lot of things.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I'm right as a lawyer. How can you say, as a judge, I know there are these organizations investigating, but they were aware. We did not talk to them. What do you mean? Why did you not talk to them? What are you afraid of? That they will change your view?
Okay, I'm going to come back to that point about the powers of the panel. But again, you say that Ramaphosa seriously considered stepping down. Did he share that with you?
I got it right between the lines.
You got it between the lines?
Yeah.
From where?
From him. I spoke to him.
What did he say?
No, he said, listen, this is tough. And I felt this man must be feeling defeated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he didn't utter the words that I want to resign.
No, he didn't use the word to resign, but I could read between the lines. That's where it was going. That's why I felt, yeah, I need to come strong and support the president.
Yeah.
On the fact and on the law.
Yeah, because previously 702 had reported there was an interview that Clement Manyatela had with, I think, Franz Baleni, as well as James Matlati, if I'm not mistaken. And they had told him that the president was considering resigning and that they tried to convince him not to do it. But the president is flat out denying that. He says that there was never a time where he was considering stepping down.
Yeah, but I'm not the president. Must ask him again.
Yeah.
I read between the lines that the president is his back against the wall. You don't want a man to say, listen, I'm falling. But you can feel when someone is falling. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then I came very strong and said, I'm going to support the president on the law. Not because he was my classmate, but on the law. And you cannot dispute even what I'm saying now. And I'm vindicated by the NPA, which refused to prosecute him because you can't. You need the report of all the 8 organizations, which must find against him.
Yep. So going to the powers of the panel, one of the points that you make is that you can't come to a finding of prima facie evidence if you, for instance, you didn't call or have conversations with the people that are making the allegations. You can't just do it on hearsay evidence. Do you think that, looking at the terms of reference of the panel, that it was set up to fail?
It's not for me to judge what Parliament had in mind. But whatever mandate was given to them, I think the panel was unfortunate. And I have respect for Judge Ngobo. I know him for many years. They were flippant. I said in my report, it's konkelwerk. They didn't go deeper into the juristic forensic issues.
Because they didn't have the powers to call to call witnesses.
Now, why do you come to a conclusion then?
So that's why I'm asking
and
that.
Every commission has got the power to call evidence. Otherwise, they must say, because of the limitations we have, we can't come to a conclusion. Yeah. And that is honorable. But don't come and tell me about the prima facie case when you have left evidence which could be contrary to our finding. Legalistically, forensically, it's a disaster. It's an abortion of justice.
It's an abortion of justice.
Seriously.
Okay, unfortunately, we're running out of time. There's a lot that we can discuss on this book, but I quickly want to ask you about what you see the future look like for the ANC. You speak about Mkhonto, which is a political party as well. But what do you see the future look like for the party as we head into the local government elections?
I think I want to make the statement to you and the viewers. We're sitting where we call the GNU, Government of National Unity. You know what? That Government of National Unity is like a stew. It's like a stew. Some parties will not survive the local government elections because of that. Others will become out of things stronger. It depends how they play, the interplay there. Now, my view is a leaning towards the DA by the ANC will lose ANC a lot of votes. Already SSCP doesn't like that. Kosaro doesn't like that. So it's a negative to the ANC. The ANC must steer this GNU in a way in which they come out strong. But it's not only a play at the level of government. Out there, the people have lost confidence in the ANC and its leadership. The ANC must renew itself not with words, but with action. You know, there must be proper law enforcement. There must be proper cleaning up of the party. There must be political education of a different type that creates a new moral behavior in public.
Okay. Last page, 221. I stand ready to make a contribution again, so to see the Rainbow Nation soar. What does this mean? Does it mean that Mathews Phosa is willing to stand for a leadership position? Does it mean that Mathews Phosa is considering starting a new movement, perhaps? A movement that you speak of, like what does this new movement look like outside of the ANC and the other political formations that are currently there?
I believe in our democracy. People died for this democracy, and I feel we dare not betray them. We must make it work. I feel that we should think beyond where we are standing and fight for democracy to survive. I have no issue in forming new parties and all. I would have done it a long time ago. I had money to do it, for the will to do it, but that's not my agenda. My agenda is to make sure our democracy works. And we must all, as South Africans, make sure the democracy works. We dare not betray Madiba and Susulu and other elders.
Okay. 10,500 copies that have been sold so far of this book, and I guess maybe you'll be printing many more. Thank you so much for making time for us.